Okay. Okay. Just making sure.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go ahead and call our July regular town council meeting to order. And before I turn it over to Councilwoman Johnson Wilson, I do want to recognize that we have a former mayor in the office, Mayor Collins. Thanks for coming and joining us this evening. Good to see you, sir. With that, we'll turn it over to you, Councilwoman Johnson Wilson.
Thank you for bringing us here safely this evening. Father God, thank you for the wonderful community you have blessed us with here in Somerville. Lord, I ask that you watch over and protect our police and fire men and women as they watch over us. Lord, we ask for your wisdom, discerning spirit, not our own, to always lead in our decisions and in our community and use you would have us to lead. Lord, I ask for a blanket of protection and blessings to fall over all of Somerville. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For our proclamation, Parks and Rec.
I don't smell that bad yet.
Whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities are critical to childhood development, and whereas Parks and Recreation activities contribute to the physical, mental, and emotional well-being of individuals, fostering healthy lifestyles, reducing stress, and building stronger communities. And whereas Parks and Recreation areas provide a safe haven for children to play, adults to exercise, and families to gather, promoting social interaction and community cohesion. And whereas the Town of Somerville Parks and Recreation Department is dedicated to maintaining and improving the town's parks, trails, and recreational facilities, ensuring that they are accessible, safe, and enjoyable for all residents and visitors. And whereas the staff of the Town of Somerville Parks and Recreation Department have significantly contributed to the health, happiness, and well-being of our community, now therefore Mayor Russ Touchberry and the Somerville Town Council do hereby proclaim the month of July as National Parks and Recreation Month in the Town of Somerville, and commend our Parks and Recreation Department for their exceptional service, dedication, and commitment to improving the quality of life for all.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you, Council. Thank you. For employee recognition, if I could have everyone from up top come down for the special employee recognition. Miss Lisa, come on. Y'all feel free to spread around us. So, before we read the resolution, Our employee recognition is for our town administrator who has served this community for over 20 years, except different capacities, under 5 mayors, which I'm probably stealing some of what's written on here. And her contract as administrator was supposed to be completed this month, but she cared so much about the town, she didn't want to leave it without an administrator in place. So to help us transition appropriately, so we didn't lose service to our citizens in this beautiful town, she committed to staying up to 6 months longer. And that's the kind of dedication and exceptional, care and genuine pride in our town that I think reflects the best of Somerville. So that's why she is our employee being recognized. And Ms. Beth, I'll let you read the resolution.
Whereas on September 6, 2024, Lisa Wallace, our town administrator, will retire after serving the town of Somerville for over 20 years, working for 5 different mayors. And whereas Lisa Wallace served in a number of roles from 1996 to 2016 in the town, including town clerk, treasurer, assistant town administrator, director of administrative services, and special assistant to the mayor, returning in 2021 as our town administrator. And whereas under her stewardship, the town of Somerville has seen numerous improvements in infrastructure, public services, and community engagement, enhancing the quality of life for all residents. And whereas her steadfast dedication, tireless work ethic, and personal integrity have earned her the respect and admiration of town officials, employees, and residents alike. Now therefore, Mayor Russ Touchberry and the Somerville Town Council do hereby proclaim their deepest gratitude and heartfelt appreciation to Lisa Wallace for her over 20 years of dedicated service. And be it further resolved that the town of Somerville extends its best wishes to Lisa Wallace for a fulfilling and joyous retirement, confident that her future endeavors will be as impactful and successful as her tenure with the town.
Thank you so much.
No, we're hired at the same time. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I know.
And an official plaque recognizing our congratulations, grateful and appreciative for all that you have done.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Beth. You did a little bit extra. I do a terrible job on doing this. I need like cliff notes on my hand.
You did great.
No, thank you.
Next, we have a public safety campus presentation by Creech and Associates.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to, excellent. Thank you for the opportunity to be back in front of you tonight to talk about this exciting project. I've got a brief update to share with you, some new imagery, and of course, I'll do my best to answer your questions either as we go or at the end. So again, I think you're all familiar with the site. You'll recall that in the beginning part of our study, we looked at some alternate locations, and we ended up deciding that the current public safety site was the best location to consolidate all services. So that's what's represented in the yellow boundary here. We also included the parcel across West 2nd North as something that we can use as part of this project footprint. So this is the current site plan. I think a lot of this will seem familiar to you, and I'm going to kind of just run down some of the high points. You'll remember there are 4 structures planned for this site, along with the existing transmission tower that of course will remain. Recall that primary design driver that we had from the beginning, which was to separate the entrance points to all three entities, sort of so that that would be an easy wayfinding and orientation for new visitors. And so we've done that as the entrances are left, center, and right of the plan. The function that has the most public interaction is courts. So they are on axis from the parking garage entrance. So the traffic would naturally funnel from that location straight across the street directly into the municipal courts facility. There is public accessible parking located angled along the street as well as within the lower level of the parking garage. You'll notice that the facade of the public safety facility is skewed. And we did that intentionally to create a plaza that is defined by planners that are beautiful, but also serve as force protection that is necessary facilities of this type. That will give us opportunities for monuments and things like that that can make the plaza special and unique to Somerville. In this option, we've included a colonnade that sort of connects the facilities and speaks to that word of campus and will offer shade, obviously, as a part of the plaza amenity. The rear of the entire site is secured for public safety functions. There is also a small secure lot on the lower level of the planned garage. Okay, so that's the site plan. I wanted to just take a minute and talk about design evolution because it's something that's really fun for us. Design by nature is an iterative process. It's something that we think laterally on and really explore options. So our initial design is kind of represented on the left in the massing study, and it had the largest mass on the left. And we really felt like that there might be another way of looking at the entire composition that promoted a little bit more balance and cohesion. And so this current iteration has said, what if the tallest mass is in the center on axis with the garage approach, and then the two bookends for police and fire really sort of hold and frame the balance of the facade. And then we have this single story element that is connecting all of the elements together. So that was really the massing concept that we're going to see in the updated imagery. So similar but evolved. We also talked about material palette in this most recent version. And of course, we wanted to do something that is durable and that is timeless, that is representative of your community. And so we have originally looked at two different shades of brick, some cast stone, and of course, some charcoal or steel accents that we can work through some exciting details on. Okay. So then here we go. Here's the updated aerial image that's illustrating the massing, the materials, the exterior spaces. One of the things that we always challenge ourselves with is creating buildings that have distinct civic identity. And we definitely feel like this accomplishes that goal as a place of importance. This architectural style is what we call transitional. So it's rooted in classical and traditional building principles, but it also has contemporary elements on the outside and openings, which really makes the style transitional. You still have the three towers that sort of highlight the entrance elements. You can kind of see the relationship of the buildings to the street, how that plaza could be inviting and serve citizens and staff well. And then, of course, that pedestrian connection from the garage across, we can really articulate that so that it's a safe and well-defined pathway. This is a pedestrian view down a little lower, obviously with the fire station in the foreground. We have talked about having a low wall that serves as signage and a flag wall that holds one edge of that plaza. You can sort of again see how the court's entrance is there in the center and that connecting colonnade element that sort of, welds everything together. And here's a pedestrian view from the other side. Again, police entrance in the foreground, on-street parking, you can see there with the seat walls and planters. And I think this view illustrates probably best the pedestrian scale that's created by the new design and that kind of one-story colonnade and elements. But some of you might be saying, well, I don't like that brick color, or I'm not sure I like the charcoal accents. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands that's part of the process. And when we get into the next round, the next phase of work, we're going to spend the next 3 months going through that with a fine-tooth comb to make certain that everyone has had input, including all the review agencies, the BAR, you folks and staff, to make sure that our end product and design is representative of what makes everyone proud about Somerville. So I didn't want to talk about this, but we're going to anyway. No, I'm kidding. So you'll recall originally we had a $77 million budget on our first approach, and we acknowledged that we needed to be closer to 55. So back in the late spring, early summer, we took another run at that. Staff was willing, and we sat down and made some reductions in program. And we're currently sitting at 62. So we still have some work to do, and we recognize that full well. And that is one of the most important parts about this next phase of design that I mentioned a moment ago. It's because at the end of that, we will have a very firm understanding, even more than we do now, of what our cost implications are and how we can manage that together to find a solution that meets your budget. So we also like to end with next steps. We're going to have a contract that we're working with staff on in front of you for approval to move forward, I believe, at the next meeting in August. And so this schedule is sort of put together based on that assumption. As I mentioned that, excuse me, let me back up. The design process is typically handled in 3 phases, right? Schematic design, design development, and construction documents. So this is 3 main milestones. We'll be doing schematic design from August until October. During that time, you have wisely selected the construction manager at risk delivery process. Ideally, we want to have them on board when we finish schematic design. So that selection process will run in parallel to our first phase of design. We'll merge that together. They'll come on board and create the first estimate, and they'll be part of our team moving forward. That would mean that design development would start in January, run through March. Construction documents would finish, and the job could be bid sometime around a year from now. So it's about a year of design, and we're anticipating about 18 months of construction time. So we've got your grand opening down there in May of 2027. So that's the update that I prepared for this evening. I would be willing to attempt to answer any questions.
Really appreciate, oh, that was loud. Really appreciate the work you guys are doing. I just wanted to find out if Chief Wright had any comments about his tower being lowered. Okay, excellent. Well, I was glad to see you survived. Any
Thank you.
comments, questions? Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Next is approval of minutes from previous meetings.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the minutes of the town council meeting June 13, 24, the special council meeting June 14, 24, the special council meeting June 18, 24, special town council meeting June 21st, 2024, and the standing committee meetings of July 8, 2024.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve those meeting minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
For public comment for items on the July 11th agenda, Peter Gorman.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'd like to comment on item number 9 on your agenda today. It proposes an ordinance to reduce the current 5 minutes for members of the public to speak before this council to just 3 minutes. This is not a good look for the council. I'm guessing that it is the council's response and reaction to the controversial topics like the hate crime ordinance recently enacted. Controversial topics before this council need more time for public comment. By reducing our time to make our points, you are telling us you don't really care to hear them. The Dorchester County Council has a 3-minute time limit that was used to silence Hayward Hudson last year when he was explaining the importance of Veterans Memorial at the old hospital site. He was interrupted with a pounding gavel by the chairman in order to sit down or be escorted out of the chambers. It came across as an elected official arrogance to the audience and to the media. So if this ordinance passes, if a member of the public tries to finish his or her point and presentation after 3 minutes, will they be in violation of the ordinance? What are the consequences? It does invite confrontation. The proposed ordinance also seems to exclude those other than town residents from speaking to this council. So that means residents living in a proposed annexation who object to its development plans cannot address you. You have just such a petition before you tonight on item 8 on your agenda. I ask you to reconsider this ordinance and rely on past practices by the mayor and the chamber to use discretion in setting time limits and granting extra time where necessary. This ordinance is not necessary. Thank you.
Next, Mark Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you for your time. I'll keep it really brief. I'm here to speak against the annexation on petition 8A. I think I've communicated all of my reasons to you individually via email. Your planning commission and also your planning and development committee have both recommended that you deny that. And so I'm trusting that you'll carry through with that. And this is just not a good idea for the town of Somerville. So thank you.
Eric Griffin.
Good evening. Thanks for the floor. Also echoing what Mark said on petition for number 8. Just want to preserve our community, our feel, the small, quiet area that we have. And also just want to echo what he said as far as we've already had two goes at it, both denied it, hoping that you guys will kind of see it the same way. Again, just want to preserve the feel of our community. Thanks.
Megan Topper.
Hello, all. Good evening. Thank you for having us. I've spoken with a handful of you individually, Mayor Touchberry, Matt Halter, Jesse Schuler in the zoning department. I live on Reynolds Road, and my property butts up right against the Sinker swim school that's there. It's in a zoned neighborhood residential area, but they are a business. My understanding is they got their license by telling people they were a not-for-profit, which is very interesting. They are not, from anywhere that I can tell, a not-for-profit. They own 2 locations, one in Hanahan and one here in Somerville. The Hanahan is an LLC for-profit. That one only offers swim lessons. The one here has swim lessons and has on average between 4 to 6 parties a week that range between $275 and $375 a pop. The police have been out there multiple times. There's nothing they can really do about it. There's fights in the street. There's extra traffic. Cars have knocked over mailboxes, and you can hear it everywhere. I've received threatening letters from the woman who owns it, or DMs on social media, I should say, not a letter. It's just a really unpleasant situation. They're not contributing anything to the neighborhood and they're not zoned accordingly. So on the front page here, I've given you copies from the Secretary of State showing. I would think that if a forensic accountant looked at their books, it would be really interesting because they are not a not-for-profit. There's nothing on their website that says they're a not-for-profit. They don't offer scholarships on their website. They don't talk about serving underserved communities. None of the above. The second letter is the DM that I received, which I believe has been unsent because it's not in my requests folder anymore, where I was accused of harassing her. All I have done is come to you all, come to the zoning department, talk to the Secretary of State. I've gone through official channels to address a logistics issue. I've not bashed her on social media, none of the above. She says that I have trespassed on her property. The one and only time I've ever been there was to ask a staff member to turn the music down. She also addresses in her letter the fact that the person who owned the house before we bought it had trouble selling the house because they're there and that he would give her a hard time. It wasn't our realtor, it was the listing agent. That's why we have zoning laws. If homeowners are being negatively affected by businesses that are in a neighborhood residential zone, they shouldn't be there. And I don't want to have trouble selling my house or have the value of my house affected because they are there. The woman who owns it likes to reference the fact that we shouldn't have put our granny pod, which my mom lives in, so close to her property. It was fully zoned through the city. We have our not certificate of occupation because you don't get that for an ADU, but whatever the final certificate, like a thing with a bow on it that says we passed all of our inspections. Everything was done legitimately. But the problem isn't even the proximity. First of all, we paid almost $1 million for our property. I get to use all the square inches of it that I'd like to peacefully and quietly. Second of all, it's not even our proximity. If you look at the third page in the handout, I've got 2 circles. Our house is there, then you see Reynolds Road, and then across, the red circle on the left is a neighbor's granny pod. They can hear it in their mother-in-law suite. And that's the Folden family. They've been in Somerville for 1 million years. They've signed our petition. On the right, you have the Dickies. They can hear it when they're in their pool. None of us actually get to enjoy our backyards because there's constant rap music, country music, drunken karaoke, screaming, etc. So I would like to just end with an audio clip. And this is the soundtrack of my life. I'm not sure who teaches kids to swim this way, but this is how it's done. And these aren't a handful of select clips that I was able to gather because I've sent each of you multiples. This is my town council meeting edit that I narrowed down to a minute. I have dozens of videos that sound like this. I can hear them in my house while I'm sitting at my desk working. I can hear them in my front yard, in the street, across the street. I can take videos and I take them on my cell phone. There's no like enhanced recording there or anything. That's what it sounds like in my backyard that I don't get to use because there's a business in a neighborhood residential zone. So I don't know if there's questions. I have 5 seconds, but okay. Thank you all.
Michelle Sailton.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for hearing us today. I am also talking about 400 Murray Boulevard. We live in the neighborhood. Our homes are on, for the most part, 1-acre lots, and they're looking to put 58 homes on 13 acres, which I believe is 8 homes an acre. I walk that road twice a day with my dogs, with my stepdaughters at night. It's a narrow road. If a large pickup comes by, you have to scoot over to the side. So adding 150 cars to our tiny Class D on the road, the cement on the road, will destroy it. We moved there because we loved where the house was. I understand development. We all get it. Build 1/2-acre lots, make the entrance on Central Avenue, or put 1-acre lots in here. Or there will be a builder that wants to do that. But this particular builder just wants to take over our neighborhood. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for public comment for items on the agenda.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next is first reading of an ordinance to annex TMS number 15200000026, located at 400 Murray Boulevard and totaling approximately 12.81 acres, currently zoned TRM Transitional Residential District in Dorchester County, and will be zoned NR Neighborhood Residential upon annexation into the town of Somerville's municipal limits. This would be in Council District 5. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for denial at their meeting on June 17th, 2024. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for denial at their meeting on July 8th, 2024.
Mayor, I'll make a motion, we deny.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to amend that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and now an amended motion.
Yes, sir. I would move to deny first reading of the petition to annex TMS 15200000026 located at 400 Murray Boulevard because of the request to zone NR Neighborhood Residential.
Okay, so clarifying, do we have a second on the amendment?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Now we need to vote on the amended motion. Any discussion there? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Under pending bills and resolutions, second and final reading of an ordinance to amend the Town of Somerville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 3, Section 2-98B, addressing council.
I'll make a motion, we approve this ordinance.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All right, a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor. I think the people from Murray Avenue that was just made an example of could say that we heard them. And even without this meeting, they did, I think you would feel like you don't need to come and speak at this meeting because you came to the committee meetings. People outside the town have the right to come to the committee meetings and give their voices, and we can take that into consideration. So they're not locked out. And two, every debate class I ever had says cut your speech off at 3 minutes because people cut out. And it's just a mental thing that we all do. And usually if you can't say it in 3 minutes, you're just repeating yourself.
I don't feel that everything goes to committee meetings, so I'd like to amend that motion, if I may, that any proposed annexation should be able to speak at a council meeting, even for 3 minutes.
All
I'll
right, we have
second
an
that.
amended motion with a second. Any discussion on that? That's an allowance of when there's an annexation that folks from outside of town are welcome to speak.
People that live in that annexation.
Correct.
zone, Not,
That's
because
correct.
there's a lot of
Speak to that
issues.
topic.
We have people come from Mount Pleasant here and complain.
Yeah, in relation to the annexation.
Any other discussion related to that amendment?
I agree with what you're saying 100%. I would just ask, are we talking about amending the ordinance now before second reading? So we're yeah, okay.
I'm looking down at Mr. Parker. That's simple enough. All right. All right. Any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Any other discussion on the amended motion?
I'd just like to add that, along with the opportunity for public comment here, there's not a day that goes by that I don't get several emails from constituents, whether in town, out of town. Our emails are posted on the websites. Our phone calls, our phone numbers are posted on the website. So, I feel like in this day and age, our residents and citizens and neighbors around us, our town, have plenty of opportunities to reach out and touch us. And, I do the best I can to try to respond to emails. I don't get to all of them because there's quite a bit, but thank you all for reaching out. Your voices are heard, whether it's an email where there's no response, or you're coming here and speaking where there's no response either. Even public comment has never been a back and forth situation. So that's all.
Any other comments? I'll just add that on some of the longer meetings, folks who wanted to have their comments heard and read aloud were unable to because they had other commitments when meetings went long. And I think reducing it to where you can make the point as succinctly and clearly as possible, but still provide other people respect of their time is extremely important. We want everybody's voice heard, and I think this helps with that. So with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Under miscellaneous, authorize the town administrator to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice for the juveniles being detained in the Juvenile Detention Center in Columbia, South Carolina.
I'll make a motion. We approve this.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think it'd be good for the public to hear why we're doing this. Because I think it's great for the town.
Okay.
Actually, Mr. Jackson, this is an annual agreement that we have with DJJ.
I thought it was, never mind.
Okay. But it's an annual agreement and it allows our police officers to transport juveniles to DJJ. So
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
I
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Accept a quitclaim deed from SCDOT for West Second South Street between Central and Main for the Drain Beautification Project.
Mr.
I make
Mayor, I
a
would,
motion that we approve this, Mr. Mayor.
A second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to amend the motion. I'd like to move to amend to defer this item until further funding is identified and secured by Dream for the Short Central Beautification Project.
Okay. An amendment. Do we have a second on the amendment to delay the decision until funding is available to necessitate this need?
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion. to amend and a second. Any discussion there? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it on the amendment. And any other discussion on the initial motion as amended? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Approval of a resolution authorizing Somerville CPW to submit an application to the state authority for a loan in the amount of approximately $8 million to finance water system improvements, including 2 1-million-gallon ground storage tanks and a booster pump station.
Mr. Mayor, I make approval of the resolution authorizing Somerville CPW to submit an application to the state authority for a loan in the amount of approximately $8 million to finance water system improvements, including 2 1-million-gallon ground storage tanks and a booster pumps station.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Authorize the mayor or town administrator to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Federal Bureau of Prisons for use of Somerville Police Department K-9 units for searches for illegal drugs and electronic devices.
And now I'll ask that we let the public know what this is about.
Actually, Mr. Jackson, Chief,
Chief.
I'll ask Chief Wright to give you some explanation on that one.
Good evening, council. So we were asked by the warden of the federal prison in Williamsburg County if we would be willing to enter an agreement with them to allow for our narcotics detection canines and our electronic detection canine, which there's very few of them in existence, to assist them not frequently. Obviously, we won't discuss when, but when they have times of need of they need contraband searches or whatnot, the entire unit would not go if we were able to assist them. We would provide that assistance to them, but certainly having a federal prison in our state and the lack of resources thereof, they called upon us, which I think is a feather in our cap. Way I look at it is a training opportunity for our dogs and their handlers. There's a lot of real world situations that we cannot replicate. And one of them is being in a prison environment. They already search detention centers. Our dogs search detention centers in the low country already, but not federal prison. So this is a very unusual request. And I think it just speaks volumes that they asked us to do this, of the warden of a federal prison. Again, for the taxpayers of Somerville, it is not my intent to use money for anything other than training. And so you should know our training, we have training for our dog handlers every week. Obviously that's been going on for about 3 decades. And so this would be a training opportunity, training day for them if this happens. So it would not be out of the realm of, or come from any of the funding streams that we have in excess or lack thereof. So any questions?
Chief,
I think it's a good idea. I agree with you on the training, but I also think Williamsburg County is a small county. If in some way you can help them without costing our taxpayers, I agree. I think you should do it.
Yes, sir.
Chief, are there other PDs in the Tri-County area or in the lower half of the state that are assisting them like this?
For
agreement?
for federal prisons?
Yes, sir.
I am not aware. Well, Lieber, yes,
Right.
Lieber does. Obviously, they're the max security prison here in Dorchester County, and
As far as there's other municipal PDs in the low country,
Right, but
are we
they're-
it?
for electronic detection canines, yes. And for those of you who are unaware of what that may be, they actually detect a certain metal that is inside of cell phones and tablets and computers. And that metal is indicative with those type of devices. And those type of devices are used to smuggle contraband and coordinate contraband, other types of inappropriate visits that occur at federal prisons. But certainly the people who are in federal prison, they're very serious offenses. But to say that, yes, sir, it's very rare. We don't have a lot of these dogs around, but it is an opportunity for us to train in a different environment.
Great job. I just think it's a testament, as you said, to what you guys are doing there at the police department for our town and our community, that we get people reaching out to us for assistance.
I was a
that's
little bit
huge.
surprised.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know how you all would think of it, but I put it before you and I'll let the mayor call for the vote. I appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I
Council
think,
members?
I think we need a motion. I don't know if we ever had a motion.
Yep,
I'll
we-
move to approve the mayor, town administrator for the MOU.
I'll second.
Okay, motion in the second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
For the second public comment, Adrian Quist.
Good evening, Mayor Duxbury and members of council. My name is Adrian Quist, and I've been a resident in Somerville for 59 years. I want to make a couple of positive comments, even though I'm a little bit late, in regard to the recent storm that we had. That was a very bad storm, and I think I can speak for the majority of the citizens that we appreciate all the first responders that did what they had to do. And sometimes we take for granted that we have the privilege of all these first responders doing their job. And to make a particular division, the people that pick up the yard trash every week. And I watch these people having to maneuver their equipment with a high volume of traffic. And I think it's important for you as council members to let the different departments know that the public of Somerville appreciate their efforts and hard work that they do on a daily basis. Another comment I would like to make is we live in a society right now where the local roads around Somerville are becoming more like racetracks. A lot of people don't want to obey the laws anymore. And I'd like to see more patrolling to put a stop to some of these speeders. And I also like to make a comment about the noise some of these vehicles are making. Back in the 1950s, if y'all can remember that long, we used to be able to get Hollywood mufflers on cars that were noisy, but not as near as noisy as what they are today. And they finally outlawed those Hollywood mufflers. But nowadays, I call it we're living in a machoism. You have trucks and cars that make so much noise that you can hardly make yourself hear. I get my gasoline at this gas station across the street from here. And when I'm there, I can't hardly think what I'm trying to do because the noise of those vehicles. And I know we do have noise ordinances, but I don't know if that has an impact on the vehicles that people are driving, because it's almost like saying, I have this big macho vehicle, get out of my way because I'm coming. And I think it's time for maybe the police can enforce more patrolling. If we need more police, we ought to get them, because it's time to make a big change, because this noise getting out of hand. Thank you for your time.
Rosemary Tucker.
Evening, council. I'm here tonight. I'm sure I was kind of brief on my information there about what I was in question about. I'm wanting to reach out to council as a whole because this is an opportunity where I can reach everyone at one time. I find that there's a disconnect between council and employees with the town. I live in South Point subdivision, which has become a nightmare. We only have one entrance going in and out. And now that Dan Ryan Builders has completed the construction of their homes in the final phase, we have approximately, it's 298 or 300 homes. We still have not had a completion with that suicide lane that we were promised by Dan Ryan. I have called and talked to Bob Citrillo, which is the land development for Dan Ryan. Matter of fact, he's met me at my front porch, and I've known him for quite so many years. He keeps kind of pushing me forward with information, and we're still not getting any closer to getting this lane and turn lane done. Because this is our only access to get in and out on Highway 78, we are now back in another hurricane season when this was started last year. There is very little work done, if any, for weeks and weeks at a time. The issue is due to the fact, again, that this is our only access to get onto Highway 78. We had originally requested to have a traffic light. And I believe that that was shot down because of the survey that was done back in 2019, that it wasn't justifiable. Now, I have reached out to Ms. Wilson and went over the issues that I have with Dan Ryan pertaining to the entrance and possibly sidewalks and such. But the rain that we get with these massive storms that come through, it erodes the dirt that's piled up, and the ditches flood to the point on Highway 78 that you can't tell where the water is and where the road is. Several months ago, we were having ongoing issues with our neighbors coming in the subdivision on the wrong side of the road. And quite frankly, there's nothing more scary to be driving out and having someone turn in front of you. And they weren't in a hurry to get off the road. I find a disconnect with the town because I find that there's no leverage. A lot of your other towns and municipalities held out permits for a home being built until certain things were done. Now, last year, when Russ Cornett was in the engineering department for the town, I spoke with him and he told me then that Dan Ryan had a certain time frame that they needed to get done with this production. That they were going to move the entrance sign, which they did, and they had to remove it again because they did not position it far enough back into the new road right away. With this being said, he also stated that if it was not done and completed, that the town would take his $700,000 bond. That has not been done, and it is my understanding when I spoke to Rebecca Brown in the planning department with the town, she stated that the town has not given them any a time frame about when this job is to be completed. So therefore, all of us are in the mercy of Dan Ryan Builders. And they were able to add a third entrance in Foxbank Plantation in the city of Moncks Corner. And I've questioned why was that production done and completed in less than a year? Why is the town of Somerville not as important as the town of Moncks Corner on seeing to our citizens being able to evacuate if need be, or just to be able to go to work? It's just a big issue.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have any more public comment.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move we enter executive session to discuss legal and contractual personnel matters of items A, B, and C.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to go in executive session for legal, contractual, and personnel matters. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. We are in executive session.